In the vast and ancient world of the MonsterVerse, there exists a tale of sorrow and tragedy on a massive scale. Something that's all too familiar with the fables of mankind with the fallen civilizations of old. This isn't like the heartbreaking story of Shimo or Kong, where the story affects just one individual. This one is found across thousands who simultaneously experienced the fall of their civilization. This is the story of Kong's species, noble titans who once ruled their domain with grace and power, now reduced to a mere shadow of their former glory due to the pure evil of lust and greed. Long before the clash of titans we witnessed in the New Empire and Godzilla vs. Kong, Kong's species thrived in the Hollow Earth, living harmoniously with nature and the Iwi tribe. They were guardians, protectors of their land, majestic and free. They were intelligent and capable of sapient levels of thinking. They crafted tools and carved homes out of rock and built towers brick by brick. Not only this, but we see their expansive temples meticulously etched into the very mountainside, with potentially a few reasons for existing. This may have been an armory where weapons were recharged from the radiation at the core, or what's even more likely, a parliament, and at the forefront was the throne in which the leader sat, and a podium surrounded by weapons branded by the most noble and powerful of their species. The Kongs were an intelligent race, equal to that of mankind from only a few thousand years ago, painstakingly creating structures humanity could only dream of. Imagine Rome at its peak, but on a much larger scale. They were capable of designing a social hierarchy, complex language, crafting art and murals, and possibly even religion. With their power, they protected the Iwi, whose very culture derives from being one with nature and living in harmony. This piece was a prosperous period where man and monster coexisted, protecting the planet from evil and malice. But this peace was not destined to last. A darkness loomed over the horizon, a being that sought to exploit and dominate the masses. Kong's kind were not just beasts, they were sentient, capable of emotion and thought. The Scar King, recognizing their intelligence, immense number and potential power, saw them as tools, living weapons to be controlled and used. It's not clear where Scar King came from. He may have discovered them after traveling from another Hollow Earth continent, and after seeing their potential uses, decided to use his greatest power to his advantage, his speed and strength, as well as his cunning and sheer evil. By manipulating the masses, he instigated the very great Titan war that happened between Godzilla and Kong's species, turning them on each other. We heard of rumors that the Godzillas were arrogant tyrants that wanted to control everything. But we also heard the rumor that the Kongs were becoming too smart for their own good and needed to be extinguished in order for Titanus Gojira to remain in power. However, both these reasons may have been created by the Scar King himself, just ways that he can bring both these alpha titans to conflict and weaken their forces, giving Scar a way to control what remains. With the war decimating both Kong and Gojira's numbers, only remnants were left. Scar King, now at the command of the dwindling Kongs, pushes them to exhaustion. With it, their social hierarchy begins to collapse. Chains were forged, shackles that would bind these titans in more ways than one. Forced into slavery, they were made to fight, to build, to serve the whims of their captor. Their cries of agony and sorrow echoed through the ages. Families were torn apart. The bond between parent and child, once a source of strength, became a source of heartbreak as the young were taken away, trained to forget their heritage and become instruments of destruction. This may very well be how we have such a vast number of Kongs that serve Scar, trained from birth to be the perfect soldier, a fate which may have been laid out for the young Suko. And in their final battle, Godzilla's species locked away the remaining Kongs in a subterranean realm hidden below the Hollow Earth, in a place where no one could find them, where Scar King's bloody hands couldn't harm another. However, with it, the rest of the Kongs were locked away with him forced into eternal slavery as a shadow of their once great way of life. Their rich culture, their ancient rituals, all were stripped away. The wisdoms of the elders, the songs of their ancestors, silenced under the weight of oppression. Like the fall of Rome, their buildings began to collapse from neglect, and the great halls lay barren, with what was once filled with song now in eerie silence. What remains are mere pieces of a once greater civilization, where statues were erected in the Kong's own image, a sign of their power and influence. They now crumble, a symbol of a forgotten era. Whilst the story of Kong himself is heartbreaking, as he went his whole life wondering if he was truly alone, the story of his species is one of extensive torment, where they were chained up, forced into labor, slaughtered, and possibly cannibalized, all for the evil will of Scar King. And in more personal moments of the new empire, we see his throne is surrounded by the females that he keeps locked away all for himself, cowering with their offspring, and one can only imagine the horrors that must happen in this chamber. Yet in the darkest of times, hope remained, and whispers from the hopeful few spoke of a savior, a Kong who would rise up to break the chains, leading his people to reclaim their lost honor and freedom. The one from Skull Island who returned to his ancestral home, defeated the Scar King, and led his people to a brighter future. The enslaved found their champion in the King of Skull Island. Every battle he fights is a step towards breaking the cycle of pain and reclaiming the dignity of his family. The legacy of Kong's species is one of resilience and enduring spirit. Their story, though filled with suffering, is also a testament to the unyielding will to survive and hope for a better future, one with unity and peace. It's a heartbreaking story of hardship and longing for freedom, and in some ways reflects our own history and possibly our future. Just like how empires and civilizations have risen and fallen, once thinking they were unstoppable, we may too collapse under the weight of greed and becoming too big for our own shoes. As we watch these titans clash, let us remember the history that brought them here and honor the sacrifices of those who came before. For the ghosts of those that fought in the Great Wars still roam the echoing halls, awaiting someone to regain that peace and guide them to the light. That is what the heart of the MonsterVerse is. Stories of worlds grander and more ancient than our own, and civilizations and beings that once thrived, leaving only the bones and crumbling buildings of a once incredible world. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Kong leads his people in the next film, and how they may even begin rebuilding their fallen empire to push for a world of peace and unity. Kong has been building up to this moment since infancy, and I'm excited to watch him become the noble king and father to Zuko after over 100 years of loneliness. If there's any heartbreaking stories you want us to explore, let us know in the comment section down below. If you want more videos like this, subscribe and stomp the notification button to become a resident of Dangerville today. I've been Alistair, and we'll see you residents in the next one.